What is up, my fellow Eagle Fang, Miyagi-Do, and Cobra Kai frenemies? In this video, I wanted to have a bit less, a less oomphy kind of video. I wanted to have more of a heartfelt one. I was rewatching Karate Kid Part 3 today, and it ties into this video that I'm about to delve into here. The scene in question where Daniel sneaks into Miyagi's room, he gets the, the powder and the bowl to heal up the bruises on his arm from training with Silver and all that. This scene here just reminds me so much of everything that's going on between Robby and Daniel at this point. And while Robby hasn't actually flipped out at Daniel in this kind of way yet, I feel like next season we're gearing up for a scene like this. And you could argue when Robby was snitched on with the police, you could argue when he says, "Get out of here, all of you," that it could be that version of this scene. But I think this scene right here is going to be a big thing next season. I don't think for 1 second that Daniel and or Johnny are just going to completely abandon Robby and leave him in the Cobra Kai path. I think they're going to try and reach out to him multiple times. And obviously he will push them away. It will get to the All Valley and then we'll see from there. But I do see a scene like this happening where Robby just completely flips out at Daniel, lets it all out, lets it loose at him, and then it sort of comes full circle of the way Daniel flipped out at Miyagi. And in this scene with Miyagi and Daniel, there was a great comment that I wanted to give for this, and it's not so much that Miyagi's tearing up because Daniel yells at him. He's tearing up because he feels like he failed his best friend and student. And he realized how wrong he is to sort of leave Daniel all in isolation and neglect him. And that's very much what's happening to Robby. And while Daniel didn't intentionally mean for that to happen, neither did Miyagi. It's just very similar, where Daniel sort of feels the same way Miyagi did in this scene here, where he feels like he's failed his student, he's failed his friend, and there's not a damn thing he can do about it except wait and just keep trying and trying to bide his time. And I think for Daniel, the minute he comes into the dojo at the season 3 finale, he kicks Kreese. He's instantly distracted by Robby's body lying on the floor in the corner. He's instantly distracted. And obviously, Kreese uses that to his advantage, being the manipulator that he is. But it's in that moment, I think, just in that small moment, that Daniel's like, "Robby." And then after the fight, Daniel and Johnny stand side by side, Miguel and Sam stand with them, and Robby stands with Kreese. The look on Daniel's face is one of complete guilt. It's complete guilt and regret that he feels like he's failed his student in the same way that happened 30 years ago. And the difference I feel between Robby and Daniel in Karate Kid, the Karate Kid 3 type kind of story, is Miyagi didn't necessarily fail Daniel in Karate Kid 3. It's just that he had a different way of going about the situation, and I don't think Daniel read that as the way Miyagi intended, and that led to this scene where Daniel completely flipped out on him. And I think a very similar thing could be made for Robby here, but I feel like Robby's one is more of he felt isolated. You see throughout the whole of season 3 he feels alone. He's neutral, he's neutral for the most part, but he's in isolation, and it's sort of how Daniel feels throughout Karate Kid 3, where he just feels like everything's stacked against him. He feels like Miyagi's not really helping him. And Miyagi, in this moment, sort of reminds me of Dumbledore from Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, where Dumbledore is ignoring Harry because he thinks he's sparing him, he's protecting him. And then, Harry just screams, "Look at me! What's happening to me?" And then by the end of the film, it comes full circle that Dumbledore says, "I thought by... I didn't want to cause you any more pain. I thought by me ignoring you, I would, shed that burden off of you," kind of thing. It honestly reminds me of that. Now, I don't expect Robby to go and do what Daniel did in Karate Kid 3, because what Daniel did is he went and trained with Silver, and then it was revealed that Mike Barnes was training with them, and then Daniel went back to, Miyagi comes in like, Thor Infinity War entrance, throws Mike through the thing, takes on Kreese, then takes on Silver. Brilliant scene, classic scene. I don't think we're going to get that for Robby. I don't think Robby's going to... this is the thing. This is why Robby is a character. Robby and Hawk are two of my most favourite, characters going forward, because And, you know, obviously Miguel and Dimitri are cool. But I'm just saying in the terms of, like, Hawk's got to atone for his sins. But Robby's arc, he could go either way. He could go all the way up to the All Valley and be Cobra Kai for the whole thing. Or it could get to the All Valley. He could realize his mistake, like Daniel did in Karate Kid 3. Go back to Miyagi-Do and fight for them. And if that happens, and Robby goes back to Miyagi-Do before the Season 4 finale, then 110%, you know, Silver and Kreese are going to lose. 110%. Because if you have Robby and Miguel on the same side, there's no way they can't lose. So I do feel like the most likely scenario is we're going to get Robby and Miguel in the final rematch. Robby will win. Robby will win cleanly. He won't win dirty. He'll win clean. And, you know, it will be against Kreese's wishes, but he'll win. Or, the other alternative is Robby fighting unaffiliated just before the All Valley kicks off. So this is why I bring this scene up, because it was so integral to Daniel and Miyagi's development in the third film, where the bond between these two was really tested. In the first film, you see it grow, you see it blossom, and in the second season, you really see it begin to nourish, the bond starts to strengthen, and then in the third film, you really test it. You test how strong that bond is. And for me, Cobra Kai Season 1 is exactly that. You nourish the bond. You build the bond, like Daniel and Miyagi in the first film. And then in the second film, and Cobra Kai Season 2, you strengthen the bond, you enhance the bond, you grow it. And then from, you know, Cobra Kai Season 3, Karate Kid 3, you push the bond, you test it, you see how far you can actually push it. And obviously, most of the Karate Kid 3 sort of themes and parallels will carry over into Season 4, because, you know, we get, you know, obviously Mike's going to come back in some way. I mean, come on, you can't have it without him. And Silver's coming back as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what parts carry over into Season 4. And I feel like for Daniel, in this essence, I haven't really done many videos on Daniel yet. You know, comment down below if you guys want me to do some more, because I really would love to talk a bit more about Daniel. As much as Cobra Kai is more Johnny's story, I love the way it does it integrates Daniel's story so perfectly in a natural progression. I feel like this for Daniel was just a retelling of the whole events that just took place in Karate Kid 3 between him and Miyagi, and it feeds into the scene after Johnny and Daniel go to pick him up from juvie, and he basically washes his hands with both of them. You cut later on to the scene of Daniel training the students in the Miyagi dojo, and he's like, you know, Chris, try and keep up. Dimitri, do you like having your arm broken? And he says to, you know, Amanda, when she challenges him on it, he says, look, you know, one day these kids might be out there all alone, and they're going to need these skills and tools to survive. And, you know, Amanda, being the MVP that she is, just so bluntly says, this is because of Robby, isn't it? You know, and it's in that moment that it really hits home. It's one of the things that makes this show from a good show to a great show. It's the little moments. And the little few seconds of regret on Daniel's face when she says, this is because of Robby, isn't it? And you just feel the whole, like, burden just come crushing down on his soul. And, you know, she, you know, again, Amanda being the MVP that she is, says, you know, look, if he wants to come back, the door's always open. But if not, you have to let him go. And I think that's what's hard for Daniel to accept, is he always saw Daniel as someone he could help. And we are very much a product of our environment and what we were taught and what we grew up around. And a lot of Miyagi's teachings have obviously rubbed off on Daniel, to the point where Daniel has found his Daniel, you know, a person that he can help, a person that he can elevate, mentor, inspire. And he feels like he's completely failed him. He feels like he's completely failed him, and he is now in the same position that Miyagi was in Karate Kid 3, but arguably feels much worse because it's him this time. It's him in the seat, and it feels like he's allowed this to happen again, and it's all unfolding in front of his eyes. You know, Robby being in Cobra Kai, his #1 student. Look, I mean, Sam is the heir to the LaRusso legacy, for sure, and maybe Anthony down the line, we don't know yet. But for all intents and purposes, Robby is his star pupil. Robby is the one. You know, through all their scenes in Season 1 together, there was a real Daniel Miyagi sort of vibe between these two. Maybe not necessarily character-wise, but just story-wise, the way they sort of worked together. And there wasn't really many scenes between these two this season, but there was so much of their bond tested and really pushed to see how strong it could be. And now that Robby is out of juvie, there is a lot more potential, I feel, to really explore just how strong this bond is. And I don't think for a second that Johnny and or Daniel are just going to completely abandon Robby and Cobra Kai. They're going to reach out to him multiple times, and he's going to push them away. And then I could just imagine a scene where, similar to how Johnny challenges Hawk, and then Hawk's like, you got soft, and he's like, listen, when you came in my dojo, you were softer than a baby's ass, and all that. It's going to be similar. But Robby will, I feel, have the same kind of vibe that Daniel did in Karate Kid 3, where he just flipped out at Miyagi, he lost his shit, and he just completely goes in on him. And it will be in that moment that Daniel really it sets home for Daniel. And Daniel and Johnny coming together is the perfect thing to bring Robby home, because they both are in the same boat. They both are going to go through the same thing. Robby was like a son to Daniel. Daniel said it himself. I'm happy you're part of this family. You don't say that to someone that you just see as a student. You say that to someone that you deeply care for and you really have a strong bond with. And then Johnny, you cut to him, and then when Robby says, when all those years you weren't there, I blame myself, it's in that moment that Johnny realizes, I've screwed up big time. And the culmination of both Daniel and Johnny is what led Robby away. The fact that they care more about their rivalry than they did about him, which is exactly why he left. And then he tells them to basically sod off at the end of Season 3. But regardless of what happens throughout Season 4, I do see him coming back. He may win the All Valley, he may not. You know, even if he wins, he will still come back to Daniel and or Johnny. Because his arc is mirroring that of Daniel from Karate Kid 3. All it is just a more extended version of that arc. In Karate Kid 3, this is exactly what Daniel went through. Exactly the same thing. The only difference is because Cobra Kai is in a season, you can flesh out the storytelling a little bit more, and all it is just an extended Daniel arc, an extended one. So he's not joining Cobra Kai just to train in secret from Miyagi. He's doing it to actually join Cobra Kai. You know, it's a really extended kind of Daniel arc. Guys and girls, I want you to drop in the comments below, you know, let me know your thoughts about these scenes, you know. I mean, this is a scene I can get choked up at, you know, just Daniel flipping out at Miyagi, and, you know, God bless Pat Morita, you know, his acting in the scene is incredible, you know, this is probably one of them scenes that's probably hard for a lot of people to rewatch, knowing that, you know, Pat is no longer with us, and, you know, may he rest in peace, you know, a great soul. But I do feel like for the character of Daniel, this is very symbolic of everything that happened in that movie, and it's the exact same events playing out again, and he feels completely powerless. He feels like there's nothing he can do to stop it. He feels like he's let Robby down, and he's failed his best student. And ultimately, as much as Johnny and Daniel reach out, Robby will have to make the choice. He will have to be the one who says, look, I gotta come back. I have to come back. But no one else can make it for him. And with Kreese and now Silver and potentially Mike Barnes in his ear, it's going to be hard. You know, Daniel coming back to Miyagi wasn't as hard because they both reformed that bond. And then, you know, the whole plot of Silver using Daniel and, you know, just using him and having Mike Barnes behind the scenes gave him an easy way to go back to Miyagi. Robby is different. There is a lot of baggage there. There is a lot of baggage against Miguel. There is a lot of baggage against Sam. There's a lot of bad blood against Hawk and the rest of them. There is a lot of emotional baggage between him and Daniel and him and Johnny. There is a lot of factors that play into it. So Robby's arc, again, is the same kind of thing as Daniel's, but it's just a more stretched out version, a more extended version, and a much deeper version in terms of the characters, you know, the web of characters, all the relationships, all the things he's connected to. And it's going to rest on Robby, pretty much. It's going to rest on Robby's shoulders to make the choice to come back or not. But with Johnny and Daniel being together, you know, they both understand each other on a deeper level with this kind of thing. And I think people underestimate how hard this must have hit Daniel. I know it cut to the really great ending of, you know, I can feel it, you know, that great ending, amazing. I think it really cut deep in Daniel, seeing Robby choose Cobra Kai. Not just Cobra Kai, but choosing Kreese. Someone like Kreese over him and his father, I think really set the stage and set the tone for what's to come. And I feel like there is going to be a scene, probably mid-season, where Robby just flips out at him, just goes completely, you know, nuts and just start pretty much like how he was going at Johnny. Minus the fighting, but with the way he was shouting at him, the way he was, you know, basically laying it all out on the line, I think it's going to be very similar. But ultimately, I feel like Robby will have to make the choice to come back, the same way Daniel did. But Robby's going to have a bit of a tougher time because his circumstance is a little bit different than Daniel's. And, you know, he's got Tori on his side, he's got Kyler, you know, bigging him up. Potentially if Sean joins Cobra Kai, you know, there's a lot of good positives for him to stay in Cobra Kai. Unlike Daniel, where they were using him and making him injure himself and all that kind of stuff. And basically making him weaker. Robby, on the other hand, has everything going for him no matter where he goes. So it's going to be a big factor. And I think a lot of it will play into the fact of Robby's character being a character who gives a shit. He cares about people. He sympathizes with other people. And I think that is really going to... It's going to put a wall between him, Kreese, and him and Silver, and him and Barnes. And then eventually, he's going to go either way. He's going to get worse, or, you know, he's going to find the right path. But anyway, guys and girls, leave your comments down below. I want to hear what all of you guys have to say. This is arguably just one of... I've talked a lot about Robby before on the channel, as all you guys know, but I wanted to offer Daniel's perspective on this whole thing, and the guilt that he feels, the regret, you know, the deep cut that this has taken on him. And I do feel like there's going to be scenes between Johnny and Daniel next season of how, you know, of all the events, you know, of all of it just taking place, and Johnny will ask, you know, what happened between you and Miyagi, and Daniel will tell him, and, you know, maybe it'll just be a history repeat scenario, or maybe it could be history repeats for the worse. Who knows? Who knows? I'll have to wait and see. But anyway, guys and girls, leave your comments down below. I will see you all in another video soon. We are closing in on 5k subscribers. We are almost there. Almost there. As of recording this, we're about 150 away. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash that subscription button. Give this video a thumbs up. Turn the notification bell on. And yeah, pop into the gaming streams, or, you know, Chosen Live, which is on Sundays. And, you know, you can ask me any questions. I don't just cover Cobra Kai on its own. I can talk Marvel with you guys. I can talk Star Wars. I can talk DC, Harry Potter, Fast and Furious, Transformers, you name it. Put it in there and I'll get back to you on that. Anyway, see you all in another video soon. And as Mike Barnes would say, make a wish.